All right. I got two people I'm going to try to talk with here and answer their statements. Not so much questions, but they were kind of interesting, so I'm going to give it a whirl. One of them said, how could God be good if he was keeping the knowledge of good and evil away from Adam and Eve? And my answer to that is not only is he good because he kept it away, it's kind of like keeping a hot pot away from a child. Not only is it good because he kept evil, the knowledge of good and evil away from Adam and Eve, but he was good because the proof was in the pudding in that they could walk with him in the cool of the day. At least Adam could in the book of Genesis. And nobody can walk with God or see God in his glorified form, like unfiltered form, and live unless you're perfect. Now, up until the fall, they were perfect because both Adam and Eve could communicate with God and not die. And they were immortal, so that death, hell, and the grave only came in after the fall. Not only is God good because he wanted to keep that problem away from Adam and Eve and us, is that he also had prepared in the beginning a safety net, Jesus, so that the problem could be reconciled completely. Not that he was planning that we would fall or our great grandparents would fall, but he had a contingency plan built in so that not only do we now get to know good and evil, which I could do without it, but oh well, here we are. But there is a restoration between us and God by his son Jesus into complete restoration with the Father so that we can commune with him here and now and live and not die. And that's by his spirit that fills our hearts with love so that we know that we are forgiven and accepted and completely restored. Because I feel his love right now, and so can you. So those are two kind of responses. And my third one is, well, if God ain't good, how come he made you? Huh? Because he loves you and he wants to know you, and that's why we're talking. So he made you. So how can God not be good if he made you? Oh, you understand what I'm getting at. So there's just two quick responses to your comment, because I know you're not just trying to slam me, and I'm not trying to slam you, but really have a dialogue here. So there it is. It's God didn't keep back good and evil because he wasn't a good God. He just knew it wasn't good for us and that death would come into our lives when we would know good and evil. And he didn't want that because he wants us to be alive forever. So that's been reconciled through Jesus. And it's good and good for you and feels great, to be honest with you. And then there's another person who made a comment that they wouldn't mind being a Christian. Now, by the way, for this person, I'm not going to answer everything you said or in any particular order, but just as off the top of my head. You said that Christianity always plays the victim. And the answer to that is, at least in my book, no. I am not a victim. Even if I've been victimized, Jesus on the cross is the best example. He said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they're doing. That's not the words of a victim. That's the boss who set the pace for all of us so that he knew who he was in relationship to the Father and that all things would be restored to him because, yes, he was crucified. He was murdered, and he allowed himself to be murdered. He wasn't a victim. He could have stopped at any time. He allowed it to happen so that he could take Satan's best punch and go, okay, is that it? Now it's my turn. I'm going to take death, hell, and the grave, and I'm going to allow the Father to pour out every punishment upon me, that for every sin that has been committed, that is being committed, and will be committed, pour it on me, and so that I will fulfill the laws and the prophets, and all righteousness will be accomplished through me, righteousness being right standing with the Father. And what I mean by that is because Jesus had no sin in his life, he was able to be judged righteous before God, and that way death, hell, and the grave could not keep him, even though he subjected himself to death, hell, and the grave. And then when he overcame that, he overcame it for himself and everyone else, so that when we are mistreated, done wrong, we are supposed to say, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. Doesn't mean there aren't laws that should be followed, doesn't mean you don't deal with illegal stuff. But in our hearts, in my heart, when someone's done me wrong, I might have to deal with the wrong, but it's like, okay, I still see their value as an eternal being, as well as I see myself as someone worthy of God's love and mercy and forgiveness, which is easy to say at this point, but I do mean it because I've had to eat it and apply it in my life and forgive people. There's people who have forgiven some crazy stuff, and it's nothing but a benefit to them and the others. Because there are times when the people that have been doing the victimization, bad guys doing the victimizing, the bad stuff, they get saved. Their hearts change, and then once they get it changed, they're like, "Oh my gosh, forgive me! I didn't know what I was doing." And my answer and our answer to them is, "Yeah, you're forgiven." And that's how we get along. And that's how, in the Bible, it says they will know us by our love for one for another. It's in the body of Christ. So there's no victimization. As far as bowing down and kneeling, I really don't do that a lot, except once he filled my heart with his presence so much, I just dropped to my knees, not because I was, like Wayne's World, I'm not worthy. It was more like an overwhelming experience that was beyond elation and joy. And so I just got weak. And so if that's kneeling, it's not because I'm being humble. It's because I am in such a great state of ecstasy, which even the word doesn't explain it well, that I couldn't even stand. Actually, that's a pretty good place to be, because it's just being overwhelmed with the presence of God's love. So, but if you don't want to kneel, I don't think, it's the kneeling, the reverence comes in the heart. That's what counts. What else did you have? And that the Bible's made up by man. I got news for you. Everything's made up by man. God used mankind, men and women, to manifest himself on earth. If you want to know about ayahuasca and plant medicine, well, you got it from man. Just because it was written down in the Old Testament doesn't mean it's invalid. In fact, there's all kinds of stuff that you can validate the Old Testament by the accuracy from the Jewish traditions, that there could only be so many errors within one text, or else they'd burn the text. But to be honest, you can't argue faith. Because if I can make an argument, you can make a counter argument, and that just gets old. But everything comes through people. All knowledge comes through people. I mean, divine knowledge. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Sometimes Jesus does show up. He really does, face to face. Did in my life. Kept me from doing some big time stupid. And he was really cool about it, too. He wasn't coming down on me. So he shows up in the flesh. But mostly, he's going to make everyone walk this life out by faith. Do you receive me in faith, or do you reject me? Don't reject him, because it doesn't end well for eternity. But when you accept him, it starts here and now for eternity. So it's always faith that works through love, and the faith, not just blind faith, but faith in the scriptures. So maybe that doesn't refute your argument, but at least it gives you an idea, a counter argument, a counterpoint. So with that, I gotta go. because I don't want to be late for lunch. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you later. Bye.